We cutting loose.
All right, everybody, as promised, it's time for a little extra bonus footage this week on DWMOD podcast. Like we told you, if you were listening on the Big Six Picks, we had Laser on the show, American Gladiator, great Jim Starr, and he and I sat down last year when the documentaries came out on Netflix and ESPN's 30 for 30 and had a really extensive dive into both of those documentaries and his career with American Gladiators. A lot more stuff discussed in this interview here. And as promised on the show, we're going to bring you that interview right now. Well, listen, I know that the last time we spoke, you had just got done taping the documentaries that hit this year for the American Gladiators. Now, the documentary that you were a part of was on Netflix. It was like a 4-part series on Netflix.
Yep.
Now, a lot of the listeners know there was also another documentary at the same time. Imagine that. 30 for 30.
Yeah.
Yeah, they came out with a documentary, which it was very, very different 2-parter. Now, the one that you were in was from the perspective of the gladiators and the people involved in the show and how everything was going. Let's say the non-corporate side of things. Yeah. And the 30 for 30 documentary was more Johnny Ferraro telling his story from his perspective, more of the corporate side of, we're not answering that question. We're going to do this, but we won't talk about that. So I'll tell you, I watched them both. I found the Netflix one with all of you guys on it to be far more interesting and far more in-depth look at what was really going on, but really 2 different stories. Did you watch the 30 for 30 one?
No, you better believe it. Yeah. I have my own, and we can get into it. I have my own thoughts and let the audience know how we feel is, especially, I was the longest tenured gladiator. I was there from season 1 all the way till it ended. And I was the only one that made it all 7, 8 seasons. And so, I mean, we all of us that decided to do the Netflix documentary, there's a reason why we didn't do the ESPN, and I don't know if we can start talking about it now.
Sure. Yeah. Get into it.
So you said something earlier that, all of a sudden the ESPN documentary, and there was 2 episodes, and then 4 to 5 weeks later, ours launched on Netflix. That wasn't planned. That just, it was happenstance. It just happened to work out that way. It wasn't where Netflix decided to launch, post the ESPN documentary. It just worked out. And in all honesty, it actually helped the Netflix documentary in terms of viewerships and eyeballs, because ESPN did a lot of the the so-called organic marketing and marketing, and so the name got out there, which was pretty cool. But
I would imagine that was something that was directly played on their part. Like they knew when yours was coming out and they rushed to get theirs out first.
I think so. Yeah. And, we didn't know whose was going to land first. All of a sudden ESPN, launched theirs, and then ours came out, I think 4 or 5 weeks later, June 28th, ours launched. But, to let the audience know that, the reason, all the A-list, when you watch the ESPN documentary, you'll only find 1 or 2 A-listed gladiators. Gemini. Gemini. That's it.
I was going to bring that point up, Jim. If you watch the Netflix one, it's very different from the gladiators that participated in 30 for 30. It's like all of you guys, the big stars, the main players are all in this Netflix one. And then on the other side, 30 for 30, it's a little more controlled as to who's talking about what. But I will say this about the 30 for 31. I think the director of that did a very good job of just letting Johnny Ferraro go and giving him enough rope to paint himself in the corner and hang himself. And he did a very good job of letting him make himself look bad.
Yeah. And he did look bad. And I have my own personal feelings about Johnny, right? But he hung himself, right? I mean, he's a guy that just, Johnny's Johnny, so it's unfortunate he is the way he is. And I think, and not even think, I know from talking to enough people that watch the ESPN that they immediately disliked him because you can tell how arrogant, and it was all about Johnny. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with telling the American Gladiator story, and having a documentary, and having Johnny tell his story, which is so important to the history of the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
How it started in Erie, Pennsylvania with a bunch of iron workers,
and
who came up with the name, and who Johnny Ferraro is. That's a small piece of the pie.
Yeah.
But nobody cares about all of it being Johnny Ferraro, period.
No. He just came across to me as a very undeserved sense of self-accomplishment. Well, as if he had done it all himself. And then, I found the most interesting part of that documentary to be the iron workers and the Apache Dan storyline.
Yeah.
The most interesting in the whole thing.
You better believe it. And poor Dan Carr, great guy. I mean, Apache Dan, and being basically ousted out of any financial gain because Johnny hid everything from him. And here's a guy from Erie, Pennsylvania that did it right. And, shame on Johnny Ferraro. I mean, that's all I got to say. And, when Johnny called us, he called every one of us individually and was up front. He said, listen, we're going to do this documentary. Do you want to be involved? If not, don't, but it's going to be about me. And we all got off the call. I called Lori Fethrick, Ice, called Dan Clark, Nitro, Steve Henneberry Tower. We all got on a call and said, hey, did you get the same conversation? And we all matched our conversations that, it's going to be about Johnny Ferraro. And we put our foot down and said, we're done. This is 30 years later. We're tired of being used. This is not about the Johnny show. This is about the American Gladiator show, the contenders, the gladiators, the referees, the audience. And we just said, no, we're not going to do it. And we made a stance. And that's when they had $0 on the table to pay us. So they finally came around knowing we all said no, and at least was going to pay us 15 grand. Well, by that time, we didn't care about the 15 grand because they should have offered it in the beginning. They were desperate to get some of us gladiators on the ESPN documentary. And if you notice, Gemini was the only name. They had Malibu, and it appeared Malibu was only on 13 episodes of the first season. So it appeared that he was on the show forever. It's like, really? Mm-hmm. And it was a complete lie of why he didn't come back. It wasn't because he injured himself on Cannonball. He didn't come back because they didn't ask him to come back. They stopped production, and that's when they did another tryout. And I tried out on the second half of the first season and made it because he was a good athlete, but he just wasn't physically tough.
No, I think Nitro hit it right on the head when he was talking about Malibu on the Netflix one, where he said, when you guys first met him, you knew it wouldn't last. I mean, for those who don't know, you watch the documentary, look at Malibu. He's a big athletic looking dude. You look at him and you go, this is a competitor, man.
Yeah. He had a physique. And Mikey, sorry to interrupt you, but no, I got to tell you, back in the day, we all competed we did commercial work, and he did print ads. And let me tell you, he had one of the best physiques you could ever, not huge. He was just ripped and he had that long hair, and I mean, he had a hell of a body on him.
He looked like an Adonis,
and then just wasn't physically tough. And you can't teach that. You're either tough or you're not. You can't beat toughness into somebody. That is just who you are, right?
Yep. And that's what Nitro said. He said, we could tell from minute one, when football players, the guys that don't like to be hit and don't like contact. And as soon as you hit them, they start blinking like, I'm all right. Well, let's do it again. I'm okay. And you see them blinking. And he said, as soon as we got into doing physical stuff, the blinking was out of control with Malibu. And you just knew this guy, you can't take contact.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
And that's no disrespect. I'm just, some people can, some people can't.
There's no, like, I like Darren McBee, Malibu.
Sure.
I like him as a human being, but as a member of the team, supposed to be tough. No, I mean, it's just, he didn't cut it. So it is what it is. It's not a secret. That's for sure.
It wasn't a show for wide receivers and defensive backs. It just wasn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those were the contestants.
Yeah, that's true. We had
know?
some great contestants. I mean, some studs. I mean, they were
Yeah.
studs. They really were.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I got a little list of some of the guys here that we touched a little bit last time, but the documentary on Netflix touches on Billy Worth right at the top when him and Jim and I get into it. And he was a competitive kid, and Two Scoops, Wesley, he's all over it. Two Scoops all over it. But the guy that you and I talked a lot about last time that really didn't get mentioned in any of it was Brooks Wheelan's uncle, Teddy LePage, that won a couple of episodes, was a championship NCAA wrestler out of Iowa. And I mean, we talked a bit about, you were sharing some stories about competing against him. He was a pretty good athlete, man.
He was a damn good athlete. That Teddy Page, and you can still find it on YouTube somewhere, him and I in their conquer ring, and here NCAA, I think he was a champion. I think he took, you talk about a stud, man, but there's an episode where he and I were wrestling and I happened to flip over him, and it was just like, I don't know what I did, but he was a stud, man. And there was never that I witnessed in the 7.5 years being on that show and the live tour. I would say, how do I say this, is never did I face a contender that I thought was okay. They were all good. I mean, I would seriously, there wasn't one where I'd be like, whatever. They were all really good, So they did the people that ran that part of the business to find great contenders. They did a really good job.
I got a little clip here of what you did to some of them. Let's take a look at this guy here.
In a row here at the hands of Laser, his head gets driven right into the mat. I think this is the beginning of his problems right here. Obviously,
and he got another 5 right there.
Look, he's wobbly.
This is the time of the contenders.
He's all wobbled up. Look, he was wobbling. You drilled him, man. He drilled him, and he was out of it, man. But now here's a little highlight clip of some of the things that you were really good at it on the show. Let's refresh some people's memories if they haven't watched this in a while now. Look at that one. Boom. A little tower action there. I love it. Putting him down. Put him down. I love it. Put him down, man. There it is again. Oh. Yep. Love it, man. Yeah. That's some great stuff, man. Now, I got to say, you watch that video and you watch some of the times where you guys are putting them down. And then in the documentary, Nitro's talking a little bit about, they get into talking about all the guys like putting them down and going a little too far at the end of things. But I tell you, I didn't really care for that spin, because from a competitor standpoint, like you just said, all these guys that they had on the show were good athletes in their own right. Yeah. And you're going out there and you're taping several shows in one day, and you've already had a ton of reps, and this guy's fresh. You got to get after him like that to get in their head and you got to get some kind of advantage and let them know you're not coming out here to win. Yeah. And that's sports, man. That's sports. And that's how it was. I mean, I know the rest of the Gladiators is good enough, but let me tell you, it was do or die for me. I mean, there was it didn't matter what day it was or what competition we were on and what event. I went 110% every single time, and because I knew they were coming too. There was a lot of money and notoriety that they wanted against their name. They're athletes, right? So, boy, I did whatever I could to come out on top. Yeah. Well, that's what made the show fun to watch, man. Like, I tell you, a lot of people love to watch the show and cheer for the contestants. And of course, we all did that. We all watched it. You want to see the underdog win. That's just good television. You want to play that game on the audience. But I watched that show a lot of times just wanting to watch the Gladiators destroy people, man. I was like, yeah, man, put them down. This is a home game, and you're the visitor. I just love that stuff, man. Now, the Netflix documentary, I thought, did a lot better job of telling the history of the show kind of surviving, like how season 1 it didn't really go that well. Like, there were some things there. Maybe you can touch on it a little better that needed to just be corrected with the show and they couldn't figure out. Right. Yeah, for sure. I missed the first 13. Right. So
There in one season we did around 26 episodes. So I joined the second half of the first season, and they just didn't really know what they were doing. I mean, they kind of hamstringed us into these goofy events. There was no safety protocols. I mean, we were doing Powerball and Conquer on that concrete floor with just a rug. It was a rug.
Yeah, that's crazy.
None of us, unfortunately, we were pretty young back at the time. I started when I was 28, but we were just happy to have a damn job and getting paid, right? So we didn't even think about the risk. But they realized that, in the beginning, they kind of wanted us to be Hollywoodish, like ham it up for the camera. And some of us I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not that articulate to come up with like Hawk did or Nitro. They always had something to come back with. But I just wanted to compete, and I didn't want to be on camera. But they finally, the first couple seasons, it was like, hey, ham it up for the camera. And then finally I think it was right around the end of season 4, they finally just told us, be who you are. Just whoever you are, and whatever that is, be who you are. And you'll see on a lot of the interviews, we were just more relaxed. It just became a lot more fun. And you saw that. I think it really displayed that, on all of the interviews and throughout the next few years.
When you're watching that stuff, the show progress, you can easily see where early on the suits, if you will, are trying to push something for television and sell it. And the only thing in that realm at the time that they have to compare with that's a giant hit on television is professional wrestling.
Yeah.
So that's what they're going for. They're trying to get you guys to do shoots and do the little videos and stuff. And that wasn't the thing with this show. The thing with this show is the actual competition. And when they backed off and let it be, let these guys just compete. People want to watch that. That was it, man. It landed.
That was it.
And all due respect to some of those people that are putting the show together, they don't come from athletic backgrounds. So when they're setting up that Powerball game on concrete, it just never occurs to them. It's not cost cutting. It just never occurs to them that this is concrete, guys. We're going to be going down on this.
Yeah. And nothing. I mean, right in the beginning, we didn't even have. Finally, we wore those little helmets. I don't know. They had a little padding on the helmet, but man, we didn't wear mouth guards or we didn't have elbow pads. And I mean, there were so many injuries on that show from people. Oh my gosh. It's just like, oh my God, they were losing people left and right, including gladiators. I mean, shit, every year I had a new injury and new surgery going on. Every year I was on that show, and, but it is, it is what it is, So
they had that doctor from UCLA on the Netflix documentary, and he said, I tell you what, we had more injuries in a couple of days of filming than I would have in a whole season for UCLA.
Very true.
Like, I believe
Very
it.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, believe it. Early on, you guys are wearing nothing, man. Nothing but elbow pads. It's like, man, a full out tackling drills with no, and it ain't running.
That was professional football with no pads.
I know, man. It was kind of crazy to begin with, but then they get the documentary does a good job of showing how the one director producer of the show kind of jumps in and starts molding these games in a way that, like, let's accentuate the athletic competitiveness here. Let's put the joust up on stands. He started to eliminate some of the things that weren't working and make these games work for the entertainment value of sport and not like wrestling style. And the show just took off from there, right?
It did. It really did take off. They started perfecting the games, and they sure needed a visual for, obviously it's on TV, right? So they needed the visual, but they needed the competitiveness from both the contender and the gladiator together. And, they hit the nail right around season 4 to end of season 7. The one thing that I recall, and I can't remember the director, someone from Sammy Goldwyn said, the reason the show ended, that the viewership just wasn't there on season 6 and 7, and they had no other choice. I mean, everything's about ratings for, these television series, but the one thing he forgot to mention is they didn't put any money back into the show. So they took all the money, but they didn't promote the show. They never promoted the show, Mikey, ever. No. It was us going out and signing autographs and people like, oh, there's the Gladiators, but they never ran never spent their own marketing dollars to promote us, run ads, billboards, magazines, television, radio, you name it. They didn't spend a dime. And so what do you expect? That was back before social media, right? So the only way you found out is that you open up a newspaper or turned on the TV. You didn't have an app and found out about the Gladiator. So it's unfortunate that it ended the way it did, is because hell, they didn't put money back in the show. What do you expect, right? So
yeah, it's an excellent point, man. It's an excellent point. If you're not going to put the money back, it was all word of mouth. I mean, I was a kid watching it, and it was just all, playground school word of mouth. Like, yeah, we're going to watch Gladiators on Saturday, right? Yeah, right after practice, man. We got to hurry home and watch Gladiators, and it was all word of mouth. Now, they didn't pay you guys. Let's dive into that a little bit, because the Netflix doc does a really good job of telling the story about how you guys were really getting screwed over, man. Like, and just purely out of greed. There was enough money to share to throw you guys a bone, and they just weren't going to throw you a nickel. You talk about that, because you'll know better than me, but they were robbing you guys blind.
Yeah, they sure were. If that show came out today, oh my gosh, I'd have enough money. I'd give you a couple million, Mikey. I mean, come on. They paid us like we were just nothing, and they knew it. We as gladiators, listen to this. We had to try out for our positions every year. For 2 weeks, we'd have tryouts, and we would be so beat up before the show started in June, because we filmed all 26 to 30 episodes in a matter of 3 weeks. So we do like 4 days on, 2 days off, 3 days on, 1 day off. And we would have to go out, and they would hire these new gladiators to go up against us just to keep us honest, and then find out that we made it, and then pay us so crummy. Let me tell you, I'll give you this story. All of a sudden, someone brings in the American Gladiator vitamin line, and I'm on all the labels. I didn't even know about it. I don't get a dime for my likeness, my image. I mean, really?
That's crazy. That's crazy, man.
60 some countries we're in, and not even get a little bit of the merchandising. We didn't, just a tiny bit. I mean, let me give you an instance. We were on macaroni and cheese boxes. We were on bubble gum. We were on keychains. We were on Halloween costumes. You name it.
Toys,
we were on
man.
It. And not toys. Oh, I forgot about the toys.
I mean, the toys,
video games, and and it's to me, it's like, really? Like, but they knew that they had enough male and female gladiators that if they could pick and choose, like, well, you don't want your job, we'll just go, we'll have another tryout, and somebody else will pick your job. So, whatever.
Yeah, and again, they take a page from Vince McMahon and the WWF, and they license the moniker that is your name. So they own Laser, they own Gemini, they own all that. And then they just release the obscure figure that's in your likeness, but the name on the package just says Laser, and they own that. It's like, what is with it that you don't want to give the guy a few bucks for what he's doing? Like, you need every penny.
Yeah, just a few. And that's why we decided to, all hold together and not do the ESPN one. In the beginning, they didn't want to pay us, and we said, we're done. It's not about being on a documentary. It's about just what's fair in the world, right? I mean, we sacrificed our bodies, and man, oh man, I mean, I've had 16 surgeries from that television show. 16 surgeries. Sure. And you don't think at 61 I'm feel like an old man.
Man.
But it was my decision to do it. But still, come on. I mean,
I don't know. You guys handled it better than I think I would have, because I got to tell you, just sitting here listening about it, I'm like, the ultimate disrespect of everything that you all involved in it, you guys and the other side, and Ferraro and the guy running the doc over there at ESPN. Yeah. You all know the intricate story of how bad you guys were getting screwed over. They wouldn't give you a new deal. Then people wanted to strike and not come back. And then they just fired them all.
And they
fired them. And some of you guys, stayed to keep making money. And they were absolutely screwing you guys on money from the get-go. And then when they want to make some more money on it 20 something years later and do a documentary, they got the balls to call you guys up and say there's no money involved.
Can you believe
the audacity, man? Like this is all about, this documentary is going to be about the fact you screwed us out of money and you don't want to pay us to do this.
Yeah.
It seems crazy.
Hey, and now the next one, I shouldn't even disclose this. Now we go out as Laser, Nitro, Zap, and Ice, and Tower. So we went to the Comic-Con, signing autographs. We went to the Maryland Toy Show. Guess what we just received? Infringement letters from MGM saying you cannot use Laser, you cannot use Ice and Tower and Nitro. And it's like, really? Like,
I know
30 years later, you're worried about us going out for what? It's creating what's the word I'm looking for? It's creating a legacy for the Gladiators. It's helping your name, right? I mean, just because we're out signing autographs, you're calling that infringement. We can't do that. It's copyrighted, and wow, man, that's sad.
I mean, got to go out there as Jim Starr. You can't be Laser. And it's like, nope, but I am Laser.
I was Laser. I was Laser. I created that character, and they're still 30 years later not wanting us to go out and promote ourselves. Really? We're promoting the American Gladiators name. It's getting the name out there, and it only helps the brand. I don't know, understand it. It's all about dollars.
It is, man. It is too. And it's like, yeah, a lot of the stuff in there, like a lot of the stuff, was kind of feel good moments of you guys, standing up for what you're going to do and, telling your story about getting on there. There's great sides of it too. And then there's the sides like we're talking about right now. It's why it's such a good documentary. You get both sides of it for sure. And I also thought it was a little unfair, like the media bashing when it first came out. The media bashing it as lowbrow and this is television for morons and it's like, time out, man. Like, why don't everybody just calm down a little bit? You know what I mean? Like, I thought, what's his name? I think it was Gemini nailed it when he was like, man, if you want an intellect, turn on CNN.
Right.
We weren't trying to be that.
Yeah, we weren't trying to be that. Yeah.
I just thought that was a little unfair by the media, but I tell you who ended up winning that one. You guys crushed them. They eventually had to shut up and the show shot through the roof. So
that's right. That's
right.
I mean? Yeah. It all turned out. We were all pleasantly, because you never know what's going to come out of a TV show, a documentary.
Sure.
We were nervous. You don't know are they going to really tell the correct story, the truth? Mm-hmm. Were they going to sensationalize everything? I got to tell you, just from my perspective, and I can speak on behalf of all the Gladiators that were on that documentary, all of us were, that director, they did such an amazing job telling the story. They never made up a story. They didn't sensationalize the story. Everything was spot on. It was to a T. It was perfect. It was like, wow, what you couldn't have done better. Yeah, there's nothing I cringe and say, oh my gosh, how could you do that? It was perfect.
Yeah, it's very good. It's very good. I really enjoyed the Netflix one and the 30 for 31. Like I said, I enjoyed the director's approach of letting certain people on the show, especially Ferraro, just get out there and be their own narcissistic selves and talk. And he just let them do it and let them show who they were. And then just edit it up in a way where like, get a load of this guy. And it's like, get a load of this guy. It was really good. I tell you one part I really did like about it, I'll touch again, was the stuff about Apache Dan and the Iron Workers and all that old footage of them really doing these games at high schools and stuff back in the day with those guys. Boy, I'd kill to watch some of those videos. Those got to be amazing, man.
Yeah, he's a good dude, man. I did not speak to Dan Carr since the show ended in I think the last time I saw him, we were down in the dinner theater show in Kissimmee, Florida, doing that goofy dinner theater show. But 1998, I think, was the last time I saw him or even spoke to him. And I reached out to him after watching the ESPN documentary, feeling so sad for him. I was sad. I mean, my heart hurt for him. I mean,
yeah, man.
I didn't have his number, and I called a few people, and he answered the phone. And let me tell you, the connection was still there. And I just feel bad for the guy, man. He got taken big time, and it's really unfortunate. He's a good dude.
He seems like just such a really good dude, man. That and you can see through that whole doc that Ferraro, it's not like he's excluding him and serving him papers that this is mine and you're out now. Like, he's just lying to him the whole way.
Just
And he's such a nice guy. He's believing him. No, you're in. The money's coming. Don't worry about it. It's coming. It's coming.
And it went on for years. And just a really unfortunate circumstance.
Yeah, destroyed a lot of his relationships with his original buddies that were the gladiators, like in the high schools and stuff. He's telling these guys, hey, man, as soon as they get it running, Johnny's telling me I'm going to be able to come in and I'm going to be able to bring you guys in. You deserve to be in and be on the show. And, and these guys now felt like that, Dan was lying to them, but he wasn't. He was genuinely himself saying, no, I'm trying to do it.
Right. Like, I mean, can you imagine, Mikey? I mean, even the audience watch. Can you imagine just, let's say you're Dan Carr and you're picturing Dan in his trailer where he lived with his daughter and he's waiting for the big payday because he's like Erie, Pennsylvania. He's an ironworker and he's barely making a living. And he finally feels like he made it. And he's waiting on his best friend, Johnny Ferraro, to give him the payday and the big news. And it goes on. And another lie, and it goes on another few years, another lie, and he doesn't get $1.
Not $1.
And it went on for years.
Destroys his marriage, destroys his relationship with his kids, and just it's heartbreaking, man.
You just want to choke the guy. I don't even want to talk about it because it's disgusting, and that people are, and that's his best friend. Remember that. That's Johnny and Dan became best friends. How do you do that with your, even to a friend, let alone a best friend? Holy moly. Come on.
Yeah, it's bad, man.
Need some shit. I just, whatever.
No, you ain't lying. You ain't telling the lie right there. I think the only mistake that Dan made was trusting a guy that did Elvis impersonations and tried to sell them as original music. And I'm the Prince of rock and roll. I'm like, this dude's a charlatan from the get, man.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get the blood pressure down. Let's get back to some of the good memories and the good stuff on the show.
There you go.
The Netflix doc, you and Nitro, your early run-in days, some of that stuff that's in the book. A little bit of it made the documentary.
Yeah.
The notorious Jeep battle made the documentary. That's a great story there. There's just a lot of great stuff in there. You guys, you got to tune in and watch it. And I'll ask your opinion. Which way do you think you should watch it? Should you watch the Netflix one first, or should you watch the ESPN one and then watch the Netflix?
I think you should watch the ESPN one first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think because.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't give you. I think it'll give you a better.
It sets you up for how shady it is.
Yeah, you'll see how shady it is, and you'll notice Gemini, which I wasn't even aware until I started watching the Netflix, and all of us, we didn't know Gemini was in both the ESPN and Netflix. I don't know how he did that, but if you watch Michael Horton, which is Gemini in ESPN, he seems depressed. He seems like, oh my gosh, it took me away from my family. Then he does a Netflix and he's all upbeat, happy, and it's like, where's the dichotomy? Like, what happened there?
Because he's in the room with you guys.
Yeah,
the Netflix is the feel-good version of you guys and your memories and how great it was, and that opened the door to joy of what it was for him. That's a great point, Jim, because you can see that.
You can see it absolutely. You watch Mike Gemini; he's depressed. It's like, I got to go out and sign autographs for 5 hours, and it took me away from my family. And then he does the Netflix, and it's a whole different human being. And that's Mike. Mike was never a one to get down. He was happy. He was one hell of an athlete. He played in the NFL on and off for, I think, 11 years. That guy was a stud. And he was like Big Daddy. Like, all of us went to Mike for advice. So that's people can see that if they watch both of them.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, you watch some of those clips of him just playing the Powerball, and you get a feel for, like, there's the guys that are like you, for instance, like linebacker, speed, strong, track you down, take you down, put you down, and then you watch Gemini, and you're like, oh, that's an NFL offensive lineman. You don't want to run into him. He just stands there, and boom, and guys are down.
Big boy. Yeah, he lost a lot of weight for the show. He was 285, and he had some massive shoulder. I mean, just a big dude, man. He was a big kid. Yeah.
Big dude. And when he goes after Billy Worth, Billy throws that ball at him, and that's a great, I mean, he's like, nah, not today, man. Not today. That's a great one, man. It's a lot of fun, a lot of it. Now I also thought that of all the people interviewed on the show, everybody got a little in depth with their own personal, lives and things like that. But I do have to say, all bias aside, I thought you dug pretty deep, a lot deeper than a lot of other people when you touched on the stuff with your dad. I thought that was pretty. I don't know a better word than brave to discuss that right on camera like that, man. I had to tip my cap to you. That's tough.
No, thanks. Yeah, it wasn't. Trust me, it wasn't planned. Didn't think about even talking about it. Just came out of. I don't even know where it came from. I mean, and they cut a lot of that footage. I only have so much time, but they didn't tell the story of how I came to that conclusion with my dad to just say, "Hey, Dad, I love you," because I had a lot of resentment about my dad. I think that's why I excelled at sports, because I was always trying to get his attention as a little boy. Like, Dad, here I am. Just tell me you're proud of me. And I think I started lifting weights, so he would finally say, "Man, you're looking good, son." And never did. He never told me he was proud of me and loved me. And I don't know where that story came. I didn't have it planned to tell that version of it, but I was truly touched and honored all the people all over the country that reached out to me to said that they had a similar situation with their dad, and what can they do? Or I helped them see that life's short, man, because I was 47 years old when I finally put my arm around my dad and said, "Dad, I just want to say I love you, for raising me and my siblings." And like I said, not a moment's hesitation, turned around and said, "I've always been proud of you." I'm going to start freaking crying.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
It was just, it's one of those things in life that, you're angry with your parents or your dad and all the things they didn't do, right? Hell, my dad didn't know the difference. His dad never loved him. So how is he supposed to possess that with his own kid, right? So, and after all that, my dad, he became the best dad and the best grandpa. Unfortunately, we lost him in 2009, but I feel so solid. Before he left, I had a few years to say I was a good son and he was a good dad.
That's great. Yeah. That's great that you got to have that, man. That's a giant victory. And it's a very, but that touches for sure on how there's a personal side to that Netflix doc as well. That's just very good, man. It's very good. It was really good. And I can understand a bit of that stuff, man. Like trying to break down the walls of generational family behavior that just, it's tough, man. It's tough. Sure. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. But let's touch a little bit on the aftermath of some of the guys hold out, some of the guys and girls hold out, some don't. And you guys get back to filming another couple seasons, but that didn't change the mind of anybody in charge, did it?
No, it did not. Didn't even, not at all. They got rid of, I think, 3 or 4 gladiators and they didn't miss a beat. They brought in a couple more and off we went, because we still had a couple A-listed. I was one of them. And I think they brought in Tower then and a couple other ones. And didn't even phase them. Like, it was a tough deal, man. Not having your teammates there, and I'm going to pick up the slack. A tough deal.
Yeah, that is, man. It is, because then some of the camaraderie's gone, and then
right.
you lose a bit of. Man, Powerball just wasn't the same, man.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't.
It just wasn't, man.
Just wasn't. Yeah,
you got to know who's over your shoulder with you. You know what I mean? It's different. It's a sports thing, man, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I'm going to agree with you. I would definitely recommend hitting up the 30 for 31 first. Sheds a good light on who the people behind the scenes are and what their agendas are. And then you guys bring it home on the Netflix one and just double down on like, man, this is what's going on.
I agree. Yep, I do agree. Yeah.
Kuttin loose.